My name's Jarrett Leiker. I'm a personal injury lawyer, and I'm here to talk to you about pedestrian accidents. Pedestrian accidents are sometimes some of the most violent and serious accidents that someone can be involved in. They are struck by a moving vehicle. Sometimes it's a bus, sometimes it's a car, sometimes it's a train. There can be all kinds of circumstances, and we created this video so that you can learn the basics and the fundamentals of what to do if you're the victim of a pedestrian accident. If you're the victim of a pedestrian accident, one of the most important things to do right after the accident is to seek medical care. And almost always, people are transported by ambulance, so this is kind of done for them. But if you're in the case where you're struck by a vehicle and fortunately you're able to get up and move around a little bit, first thing you should do is call 911 so that you can get treatment on the way and the police will come to the scene. Getting everything documented is so important. If, for example, you're unfortunately severely injured and you're transported by ambulance and you're gonna say, what am I gonna do? Because, I got transported by ambulance and then the next thing I know, I wake up, I'm in the hospital. Don't worry. In those instances, almost always the police will have come to the scene. They will have documented everything. Ambulance will have, taken you to the hospital. We've seen in our experience of working with thousands of cases, if you're transported by ambulance, don't worry, your case isn't over. It's gonna be documented well enough. But again, most importantly, seek medical care if you are the victim of a pedestrian accident. The next thing you want to think about is to seek the help of an experienced lawyer. Now, I know that you're thinking, okay, yeah, you're telling me to call a lawyer because you're a lawyer, but I'm telling you, whether you call me or you call anybody that's an experienced personal injury lawyer, you need to right after a pedestrian accident because there are so many things that happen. You're in the hospital, you need to get the police report so that you can find out who it was that struck you. You need to understand who their insurance provider was. Maybe it was a commercial vehicle, maybe it was a ride share, maybe it was a uninsured driver. These are all things that are very complex, and you need to understand where the coverage is coming from right away because almost always pedestrian accidents result in serious injuries. After you've got treatment, first thing you should do is call a lawyer so that they can start the investigation and they can find out who to hold responsible for your injuries. The next question that we get from clients all the time if they're involved in a pedestrian accident is, what is the timeline on the case? Like, how do things work? What should I expect? Right after the accident and you hire an attorney, they'll send out a notice of representation, and what that is telling the driver to preserve all the evidence that's related to the case. So that means if there's any vehicles, any footage, any photos, anything, any statements that the driver's insurance company or company that they may work for has to preserve all the evidence. The second part is you will continue your treatment. Now in that phase, the treatment phase, it can kind of sometimes be a little bit, I don't want to say flat, but there's not a lot going on the attorney's side except for they're working up the case on the back end. They're completing the investigation. They're finding out who's liable. They're getting all of the coverage in line. They're finding out any experts that they may need. That's kind of what's going on behind the scenes while you are continuing to treat. And so depending upon the severity of your injuries will depend upon how long your treatment phase lasts. If you just need chiropractic or physical therapy, your treatment phase could last a few months. If you do chiropractic, PT, and then you need pain management and then potentially surgery, we're talking about a long treatment phase. Once you've finished treatment, the next part is the demand phase. So we'll send out, or your attorney will send out a demand package that breaks down all of your damages, all of your injuries, all the things that you have suffered as a result of the negligence of that driver that struck you, and then they'll go through the process of trying to get the case settled. If the case is not able to be settled pre-suit, one of two things will happen. One, we'll file a lawsuit and we'll continue down the litigation path, which could continue all the way to trial. Or two, we like to use a pre-suit mediation. And so what that is our side, so our client and us, and then the other side, the driver and their insurance company or their company will hire a third-party mediator. And that third-party mediator often is a retired judge, and we will submit all the information about the case. They'll submit all their information about the case to the judge ahead of time, and we'll go to a mediation. We'll kind of sit in two different rooms, and all day we'll go back and forth with the mediator to see if we can reach a number to resolution. So if we don't reach that number of settlement, then we'll file a lawsuit. That's kind of the timeline of what to expect throughout your pedestrian accident case.